Hello, hello. It's an honor to be standing here in front of this laughing girl who happens to be the Portuguese best paraclimber athlete. Would you like to introduce yourself and saying perhaps what you have accomplished so far in your career?
As a paraclimber?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So I'm Tânia Chaves. I have 26 years old. And I started climbing in 2017, in October. And since then, I've been the national champion of the IL2 category on the paraclimbing in 2019, 2018, and 2021. Sorry. Then I went to the World Championship in Briançon in 2019.
In France?
Yes, in France, where I stood in the 5th place in the IL2 category. And then in 2021, I went to Moscow, Briançon, and Innsbruck, and I was in the 3rd place in Briançon and Innsbruck, and the 2nd place in Moscow.
That's quite the achievement. And
Yes.
to contextualize people, paraclimbing is a category inside climbing for people with some disability. So it means that somehow you have a disability, and maybe in your case you don't have one leg. So I guess we could start there by contextualizing and seeing what were your life circumstances that led you to this. So how did you happen to find yourself in this position?
Okay, so in 2009, I felt some pain in my leg, and we discovered that it was a cancer. So I had like a second knee on my tibia, and it was an osteosarcoma. That's a bone cancer. And with the treatments and everything, it spread to the muscles. So we had to amputate my leg. I was 14 at the time. And then, yeah, that's how I've lost my leg, yes.
It's a very, very early age. I cannot imagine how it must feel when you are 13, 14 to be told by a doctor, okay, your cancer is incurable, we have to cut off your leg.
I get that a lot, that persons say that, and I thought about that a lot. And it's weird because at the time I didn't felt bad about that. I was like, my parents were very sad about that, and I felt like I have to push them. I have to be okay.
Like to lift them?
Yeah,
their emotions?
I have to lift them, yes. So we were in front of the doctor, and they were super sad, and I was like, oh, it's okay, I will be fine. And then I never thought about it like a bad thing. I just tried to fight with that, and never felt sad about that or something. I didn't have the time for that. And when I think back, I can think about one day that I was sad. And
So in your case, this strong spirit, it seems to be genuine, since I often see the case in which people put this strong image on the outside, but inside they are very depressed. But this does not seem to have been the case with you. Or was it? I don't know.
yeah,
How do you feel? How did you honestly feel like, no problem, I'm gonna carry over,
yes,
move on?
when I think about it, it was what I was trying to say. When I think about it, I can't remember about being sad. So I think it was really genuine. I don't know.
Yeah,
I just wanted to make people like to make them feel okay and like, oh, she's fine, we will get through this. And yes, the only thing that made me sad was the fact that I couldn't go to school
During the time you were at the hospital?
Yes, I was like, oh, can't you, like, to the doctor, can't you just cut my leg so I can go to school? And she was like, oh, we can put that apart, but for now we will just do the treatments and you have to wait. And I was like, oh, come on, I want to go to school. And it's the only part that made me sad.
Usually it's the other way around. Kids want to be outside school and enjoy their vacation. But in this case, of course, in the case of a serious disease...
When you can't go, you are like, oh, I wanted to be at school.
So how long were you down, so to say, like outside school or in the hospital doing treatment, recovery?
It was 1 year, I think, yeah.
So
about
you missed
1 year.
1 whole year of school in this case?
Yes. I had to do the 9, I don't know how to say it, the 9th grade.
9th grade, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Again.
and at the end, when does this end? Like they cut the wound, you do some recovery? I really don't know.
So I've started with some chemo in October, I think, 2009. And then in March 2010, we've cut my leg. And after that, I had to do some chemo again. Then in October, I stopped the treatments and I was free to go to school again. And then I just had some medical appointment to see if I was okay and stuff like that.
I guess
I've been released like 2 years ago or 3 from the hospital. I don't have to go there anymore about that.
Nice, so you can finally move on and face life.
Yes.
No, that's wonderful. And I admire a lot the people that manage to overcome this very difficult situation. I used to, or sometimes I do these games in which I imagine if I didn't have one arm or one leg, or I close my eyes to try to feel how a blind person feels the world. And it's so hard for me. I cannot go on more than a few minutes and then I have to open my eyes again. And like, how can these people live? So I really admire the people that have, like you, that have, I think, a lot more strength than I will ever have.
I wouldn't say that, because I thought before I had to cut my leg and before I knew that I had the disease, if I saw someone that don't have a leg or an arm, I will be like, oh, I couldn't be like that. I couldn't do anything if I was like that. And then when it happened, you don't, in my case, I didn't thought too much about that. You have to live with it, you have to adapt everything, and then once you adapt and you are okay with that and you know how to do the stuff, it's okay. You won't think about that.
I see. It's good that you move on. So from here, how did you get into climbing?
Okay, so when I came to the university, I went to a gym.
Yeah.
Yes. And because I was like, oh, I'm always going to the classes, I go home, I study, I go to the classes, I go home. I want to move a little bit. I'm too much time like on a chair,
sitting down.
Exactly. And I was like, I have to move. I went to the gym, and I had a personal trainer at the time, and he was always saying, oh, there is climbing gym that is doing a competition every year for disabled persons. You have to check it and stuff like that. And I was like, maybe I will do it one day. And then I continue at the gym, lifting some weights. Then I started doing cycling and CrossFit. And I left that idea apart a little bit.
That idea,
about
climbing competition.
Yes, because I was super focused about CrossFit. I was doing it every day. Sometimes I was training 2 times a day.
Wow.
One at the gym, another one at the CrossFit box. And I had some competitions there also, but they had to adapt my exercises, and I was competing with normal persons. And I thought that it wasn't fair for them, because I had to adapt. And then
it was not fair for them, but you are the one at a disadvantage in a competition.
I know.
No?
I know, but For example, we have an exercise that it's double unders, and I couldn't do it, so I will do single unders, even if it was the double, like 50 double unders. Tanya, you do 100.
Oh,
Even
okay.
if I do 100, for me it was like, okay, I'm doing 100, but the double unders are a bit harder than the singles. So even if I do the double, it's unfair for them.
Right, and fair in this case because you will be competing directly, but with different exercises that were easier. more
Exactly,
adapted.
yeah. And I won once, and I was like, oh, it's not fair for them. They were okay with that, but I was like, no, that couldn't happen. But I didn't have other persons to compete with in
Right.
Portugal for that, and didn't hear that much about those competitions outside of Portugal. And then this topic came again, the climbing one. And Henrique was a coach in the gym.
Henrique Brandão?
Yes. And I was speaking with him. Oh, I'm doing CrossFit, but I heard about climbing, and they do competitions and things like that. And he was like, oh, I am at the climbing gym also training. If you want, you can come with me, and you meet the coach, you can climb and see if you like it or not. And I went with him and never left. That's how it started.
Wonderful. And how long ago was this?
This was in 2017, 4 years ago.
So in only 4 years of training, you managed to already amass impressive curriculum this far. When you look back on these 4 years, what has climbing represented for you? Or in another way, what has it taught you that made you stick to it and made you want to be competitive in it?
Wow.
Okay.
That's a good question. I never really thought about that. What did climbing?
Okay, let's put it in another way. Like, you were doing CrossFit, you were doing the gym exercises, and now, as I understand, you kind of dropped that.
Yes.
So what did you feel that was so important about climbing that made you move on from these two to stick to climbing only? And now you're training every day.
Yes. First of all, at the beginning, I stopped going every day to the gym. I was going still every day to CrossFit, but I started going also every day climbing. So it was
Wow.
in the morning I was doing CrossFit, and in the afternoon I was climbing every day, like from Monday to Friday.
While you were studying.
Yes.
It's quite intensive.
Yes. And then it was too much for my body, and I knew that if I really wanted to succeed in one of them, I will have to drop the other one and have more time to rest. My body wouldn't survive, let's say it like that.
It's not surprising.
Exactly. So I had to think a lot about that. Like, I love CrossFit, but I also like a lot to climb. I was in that part because I was doing CrossFit for like 2 years maybe before that, 1 year and a half, and climbing was like 2 months, let's say. And I was like, which one should I keep? And then I thought, like, I went climbing because I wanted to compete.
Since you felt that
Yes.
CrossFit competitions were not fair for them.
Exactly, yeah. I wanted to compete, and climbing can offer me that. CrossFit can't.
And then you started training at SEB, which is Clube de Escalada de Braga, and
Yes.
things went on from there. You got better and better until the point that you participated. You got to a level in which you could participate.
Yes.
So, okay, let's go into the competition itself. What has been the most fun competition that you've been in at any stage?
The most fun.
Or the one that makes you most proud of yourself, at least?
Most proud must be the last one, the Moscow one, because it's where I reached a higher level that I thought I could. It's the first time that I stood in second place in the AL2, so I was really proud of myself. And when I left the wall or when I fell, I was like, oh my god, I can't believe it. Wow, I'm in front of the German girl. That was my that's bad to say that, but it was my goal at the time. Like, okay, I am 1 point behind her, I have to go, I have to push more and be able to be in front of her, and I accomplished that there. And I was really proud of that.
Were you confident before that you could beat her? Or like you got that push from yourself, from inside?
Yes, more or less. Yeah, sorry. The competition before that one, I was already really close to her. Our points were really close, and I was like, if you push yourself a little bit more, you can beat her. And yeah, it was what happened.
Nice. In this case, is it an advantage to climb second, since you see where your direct competitor is doing, and then you say, okay, I have to beat that mark, I cannot fall before that hold?
I think it is. But when we are competing, we never compete in the same position. For example, we climb 2 times in the competitions. You start, for example, you are the first one on the first route. On the second, you are like in the middle of the list.
Oh, okay. So you never had the advantage itself.
Exactly, yeah.
Right. Would you consider yourself elite athlete? Athlete in the sense of professional.
If I consider myself a professional athlete,
yeah,
that's.
I'm not talking. Okay, this question has many interpretations.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's frame the question in terms of training enough and sacrificing enough to reach a top level in any sports, like we see in other sports, like a swimmer or a football player that plays for a top team. They have to really focus completely on the sport. Yeah. Would you say that at your current level, since you're competing at the World Championships and you're getting very good results, would you say that you need to make these kind of sacrifices to be at the very top?
I think, yes. I think I need to do it, and for now it's not really possible. I think I should dedicate a bit more time for that, but it's kind of impossible now. I have to work 8 hours every day, and then I go training after that every day for 2 hours. And when I leave the trainings, I just have dinner and go to bed and restart the other day. I don't really have that much time for that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yes, but I think I needed more.
How much would you feel that you need to train to push it past? Since you said that you could not train 2 times a week, it was too much for your body.
Yes.
Or maybe it was in the past. Now it might be different.
Exactly. It depends, because earlier I wasn't focused. How can I say it? I wasn't thinking that much about, I need to do this, I need to do that. I was just going and training, never thinking about today I have to train this, tomorrow I have to train this, and the day after that thing, So
having a workout plan.
Yes, and now I have one. And for example, Monday, Wednesday and Fridays I climb, and Tuesdays I have hangboard trainings, and On Thursday, I have camp sport training.
Sorry, I didn't understand. Campus?
Yes, camp sport. It's the one where you have the...
the horizontal bars.
yes,
Oh,
the
that's pretty
horizontal
hard.
bar. Yes, it's my Tuesday trainings.
That's like explosive training, right?
Mhm.
You go up, up, up. Okay.
Yeah. And I think now I could do something like climbing in the morning, go to work, and then when I come back, climb again, or doing another exercise more focused on something in the morning and climbing in the afternoon as I do now. I think it will be better.
Would it help if you get like a climbing wall at your home or a hangboard so you could train in the morning since the gym is closed so early?
I don't really think it will be better.
Okay. So what kind of... I was gonna say what kind of sacrifices you make, but you already make quite a sacrifice in terms of your time since your job is entirely separated from your
Yes.
activity in
Yes.
a sense. And does this mean that you don't have any support when you go to these competitions? Any
No.
financial support? I mean,
No. We should have. I mean, that's usually the national federation helps the athletes to go abroad and go to the competitions. In our case, it doesn't happen because we have two federations in Portugal hosting the climbing part. And how can I say it?
yeah, I believe that there is, as you said, there are two federations. There is FPME,
Yes.
which is Federação Portuguesa de Montanhismo e Escalada.
Now it's Federação Promotora de Montanhismo e Escalada.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
But the
Yeah.
FPME is the same. And then there is the FCMP, which is a Federação de Campismo e Montanhismo de Portugal. And I believe that it's the second one, the FCMP, that has the official rights to
Yes.
holding the competitions.
Yes.
But I guess it turns out that it's the FPME, so the first one that organizes the events.
Yes.
Although the second one gets the money, the first one organizes the events.
Exactly. Yes. So and the first one, the FPME, it's the one that the international federation hosts. So we can compete outside of Portugal, but we can't really compete in Portugal. We say that we are national champions, but we are the FPME champions, not the national ones, because Portugal doesn't recognize us. And when we are climbing, representing Portugal, it's not really Portugal that we represent because they don't recognize us.
Don't you have a Portuguese flag near your name?
Yes.
So it's Portugal.
Yes. But no, they don't recognize it.
Does it come written in the country that you're representing, Portugal?
Yes.
So officially
Officially, I'm representing Portugal, but in Portugal, they don't recognize it.
Okay.
We are not. It's like, as you said,
strange.
yeah. As you said, the other federation is getting the money. The other federation is who has the right to compete for Portugal, but they can't compete outside because they are not recognized there. So, as they don't recognize us here in Portugal, in the theory, we are not representing Portugal.
That seems somehow disloyal from them, since not only they are receiving the money and not doing anything to promote the sport at a national level, but they're also preventing you from getting the money by not transferring the rights.
Yes.
Is there any solution in sight to this?
At this moment, we have a process in the tribunals.
The courts?
Yeah, in the courts. Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah,
I think
in the
tribunal is
courts.
a legit word anyway.
Yeah. Okay. We have a process in the courts to see if we can get the rights now, and it's all a bureaucratic thing that I'm not really inside. But yes, we have a process in the courts to see if we can get the rights here in Portugal and start receiving the money to.
I hope you can get. I hope you can get, but I don't know if there's enough money. One thing that I noticed that drives some people is that there's one side of the argument that says that people that represent Portugal should be sponsored and should have a scholarship so that they can train every day or as much as possible, or do as much as they feel they need to be at the top level, as you said you were. And there is the other side of argument that says that there are too many categories and too many sports, so not everyone can get funding. How do you even approach this discussion? Like, who can determine what sport should be sponsored or not?
Yes, that's what I was about to ask you. Like, who will determine who has the right or not? How can you say that football can receive a lot? Okay, they will say, oh, football can have a lot of money because a lot of persons watch football, a lot of persons buy the merches, and it gives a lot of money, so they can give a lot. But who will determine if karate or swimming or climbing is better or deserve more than the other one?
Yeah, the revenue in argument is a very strong one, since you say, okay, I'm going to fund you proportionally to the amount of money that you bring to me. And this makes some sense, but in the other hand, it does not, because sport is supposed to be inclusive and it's not supposed to be profitable. And it's supposed to be a mechanism for people to feel worthy and to promote the image of a country. And you could say that sports that generate the most money don't really need state support.
Yes.
Like football.
Yes. Yes, that's it. I gave that example because it's what you hear all the time. Like, why don't the state give money to this sport? Oh, because football gives more money. But yeah, football has its own money. Why does the state need to give, you know?
Maybe because there are many kids playing, since it's such a popular sport, it makes some sense that there is some public infrastructure. But again, you could also argue from the other side, which is, okay, the clubs make so much money. The clubs themselves, or or FIFA or UEFA, the top level federations, they could promote and invest in the sport.
Yes, and then if you say like, oh, we won't give money to that sport because it's not big enough, you can say, okay, it's not big because you don't give the money for that, and we are not able to grow, or to grow as much as we wanted and as we can, if you don't give us the money, or if you are not willing to help the sport grow. Because there are a lot of, I can see here at SEB that we have a lot of kids that are really good at climbing. And if it keeps like this, if the state doesn't help the persons who really want to make the sport grow, we can't help the image of Portugal. We can't help the sport grow. We won't say that it will grow as much as football, but who knows that it will.
It's a slippery slope where you set the boundary as where to finance or not. I was talking about this with another guy that came here also to the conversation. It was Nuno Gonçalves. He's a photographer at university and is very accomplished in sport photography, and he knows a lot of athletes and is inside this kind of in this world of budgets and all that. And he was saying that people that succeed, they get funded. And he also acknowledged that to get funding, you must succeed. But if you to get funding, you must succeed, but it's hard to succeed without funding.
Yes.
So the question is that at some point you need to succeed on your own to draw enough attention to then justify the funding. And he expressed that he felt that people that are good enough, they will get the funding. But there's also again the question of which sports, and he also mentioned the example of pillow fighting. So there's a sport where people just grab pillows and fight each other. And you can ask, is it reasonable to fund this? If you're a state, if you have limited funds, like will you give funds to here? So why climbing and not a pillow fighting? And one argument that might be reasonable, I don't know, I want to hear your opinion on it, is should we fund Olympic sports, for instance? Should they be like, okay, these at least are big enough and they will potentially have athletes representing our country in a meaningful way? Would this be a good argument? I don't know.
Yeah, I think yes. I think it's a good argument. You should be funding, first of all, a sport that has a federation. Does the pillow fight have a federation?
I don't know. Maybe they do.
And
Maybe
then-
the climbing does not have a federation right now.
No, we don't have one. We have two.
Problem,
Yes.
too many.
Too many.
It's like when you're dating, two
Yes,
is too many.
It's too much.
Sometimes. Sometimes not.
Depends. Okay. Yes. I don't know. Then, okay, if both have the federation, why don't we fund both? And then we can go then to the next level. Does it have international competition? As you said, does it have, is it in the Olympics? If yes, we should fund that because we want to see Portugal there.
Right. The Olympics argument might also be flawed in the sense that there are important sports that are not in the Olympics.
True.
So that's why I try to frame the question in at least the Olympic sports, meaning not exclusively, but
at least.
Maybe the Olympic sports will get TV broadcasting, so there's higher chances. In this case, do you think that paraclimbing has enough society attention to deserve funding, if I can use this word?
You mean worldwide or just in Portugal?
Yeah, worldwide. I don't know, you were at the events, what was the presence at the events? Many people, just a few, just...
Paraclimbing is something that it's still growing. It's not yet and a bit far to be at the level as the normal climbing. But that's a good question.
Okay, let's see how many people do you have watching the competitions? Assuming it was 2 Corona years, so
exactly,
things change.
I just had one competition that wasn't in the Corona year. That was in 2019 in France, and we had we will say that it was like a football area, okay? And in front of the wall you had a lot of persons sitting on the grass. I don't know how many because I'm not too good with that counting in my head, but at least 200 persons.
It's quite a lot.
That's, I was about to say that's not too much if you think about that, but to be in the middle of the town, sitting on the grass, yes, it was a lot of persons.
Yeah, I
watching
would say it's a
that.
lot. If you look at
Yes.
200 people on the grass, it's a crowd. It's a
Yeah.
big crowd.
Yeah.
So, and were all the, even in Corona times, were all the competitions that you participated in broadcasted in TV?
No. The competitions were only. We just had the final broadcasting in the YouTube.
Okay.
Yes, not in the TV.
Okay. Yeah.
But yes.
Maybe I should not have used
Yes,
TV,
TV,
since
yes.
I think even the Olympics, they are also broadcast, or even the male
Mm-hmm.
and the female EFSC World Champion, so the official World Championships
Mhm.
of climbing, I think they're also streamed on YouTube,
Yes.
probably in
Yes.
addition to TV. So YouTube is a legit
Yes.
media.
Yes. We have the final broadcasts on YouTube.
It's pretty good. So that's pretty good
Mhm.
dissemination.
Yes.
So when you come second, you come to the floor, send kisses to your parents at home and your friends.
No, it didn't happen because one thing that it's different in paraclimbing than the normal climbing competitions is that we have a lot of categories, as you said in the beginning. So I am in the IL2 because I don't have one leg, and the IL2 it's the lower body amputation, and the minimum that you must have it's 6 person competing in that category for a minimum of 3 countries, representing 3 countries.
Right.
Okay, so if we are 5 persons, we are not in the minimum to represent a category. What happened in that case is that we are matched with the RP3.
RP?
3.
What does it mean?
RP3, it's a category where the persons have some kind of neurological problem in one member of his body.
Right, so they have full limbs, 2 arms and 2 legs, but something in the brain that affects.
Yes, you have full limbs, but for example, you can't put that much effort in one leg or in one arm, something like that. And then you have RP1, RP2, and RP3, depending on the level of disability you have on that.
So the higher the number, the more severe?
No, it's the other way around.
The lower the number, the more severe.
Number, yes.
So RP1 are the worst.
Yes.
And where would people like that don't see, that are almost blind, get placed?
The blind persons have the category that's called B. You have B1, B2, and I don't remember if we have a B3. That's completely blind. You have with some kind of percentage of vision, and then I don't remember if it's 2 or 3 for the blinds, but yes, you have that. Then you have the sorry, there are too much categories. RPs, AL. You have the AL1. That's the person that can't use the lower part of the body.
So just upper body.
Yes.
They must be beasts.
Yes.
Fucking tanks.
Yes, they are beasts. You look at them like, what? I want to be like that.
Yeah, I understand.
And we have the category for the person that doesn't have one arm or one hand. That's the AU, I think. Okay, so coming back to what we were saying, in Moscow, we were just 5 persons in the AL2 categories. So we had to match with the RP3. So in the finals, we didn't split the categories again.
Okay, so you competed with people outside your normal category that is a lower body disability?
I competed with the RP3, that's the persons who have another kind of problem, or not that much strength in one leg, or missing, for example, I think we have a girl that doesn't have some fingers in that category also, or doesn't have that much strength in one arm. When I say doesn't have that much strength, is that they can't use it fully.
Right,
Okay.
but it's still an advantage because you don't have the leg, so your output is 0. And even if their output strength is just a bit more than 0, it's already an advantage. Or is it an advantage? Since you don't have the leg, you cannot use it, but you also don't have the weight of the leg.
Yes.
Which in climbing matters.
We will say it's an advantage if we would compete with RP1 or RP2, sorry. Because it's a category where they are a bit worse, let's say.
RP
than
are the
RP3.
neurological disability.
Yes.
Right.
You have the 1, the 2, and the 3. If I was competing with the RP1 or RP2, maybe I would have an advantage because I don't have that weight. In the RP3, I don't think that way.
Right. So you were 5 without one
Without one leg.
one leg,
Yes.
and then you had another person.
Then we had 6 persons. I think we had 6.
Oh, 6.
5 or 6 persons in the RP3 with
Right.
full,
And then the
full
ranking was for these 11 people.
Exactly.
And not
yes,
only
yes.
your category. So they merged the categories and merged the prizes.
Yes. So I stood in the second place in the IL2 if we split the categories. But for the RP3, I don't remember. It was like fifth place.
Nice.
Yes.
Is that fair in a way?
I don't think so, no. That's something that we are discussing all in the paraclimbing community about the mergings and things like that. I don't think it's too fair because we are competing with persons that are not in our category, and then we are not being recognized, or we can't finish, let's say, the competition as we should, because I am in the second place in the IL2 category, but I can't go to the final because I have an RP3 person that it's in front of me and will go to the finals. And it's, in my head, it's not fair. And for the person in the RP3 category that it's behind me, it's not fair either. Or for example, we have one girl in my category that always wins, even if she is in the RP3, merged with the RP3. It's not fair for the person that it's in the third place in the RP3 because she is not recognized as third place in the RP3. I don't know if you...
I am trying to navigate this, since there are two sides of the fairness, as you're describing. One aspect is the fairness as in one category is by default inherently stronger than the other. Therefore, it's not fair if people with less impairment are competing with other people with higher impairment. And this is one aspect in which it is not fair, but it also seems that you're saying that it's not fair because this girl is so strong that even at a theoretical disadvantage, she still places higher than the other, so she displaces them.
Yeah, if you think about that, it doesn't make any sense what I'm saying, but...
Modest.
Yes, we will think about that like this. For example, if you are the route setter, you will think about the category as RP3. It already happened once, at least in France this year. Last year, we were competing in the RP3, and this girl that it's in my category in the IL2.
The super strong girl.
Yes.
Does she have a name?
Yes, Lucy. She's French and really strong. She went to the final, and the final route was I don't know how to say it. You had to go like this, you know.
So horizontal?
Yes, horizontal, and in a wall that was like this, super straight.
So not inclined.
Not inclined.
Not
Yes.
inclined at all. Right.
So for us, in the IL2, if we have an inclination, even if it's harder because you have to push a bit more in your core and stuff like that, it's a bit easier, let's say, than climbing in a vertical wall. And then if you have to go to horizontally, it's even worse. It's even worse.
Because since you don't have one leg, it's
Yes, you can't.
it's better to go vertically than horizontally. Is that what you're saying? Because you said it's
No.
worse to go vertical,
To
but then
go-
it's
to
even
go
worse to go
horizontally.
horizontal.
Yes.
So you prefer to go vertical.
Yes. To go horizontal, it's I don't know how to express that, but it's not the best thing for our categories. It's we have to do some steps that we can't because we are missing one leg, like crossing your legs and going
Correct.
to the right or something like that, you know.
Yeah, because when you go to the side, you put one leg forward and then you bring the
Yes.
other leg to balance. But if you can't do this, then you can't really maintain your balance.
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
Exactly. And then she is super strong and she went to the final, but then she ended up in second, not in first as always, because this route was not think to be for us, you know. It was think about for the RP3 category.
Right. Yeah, it's pretty unfair in this sense, even for the route set. Because
Yes,
they really don't know how to plan, and even if you're, even among the same category, you must have
Yes.
people with so many nuances of disability.
Yes, and then you have the thing like, oh, it's an IL2 category, so we have to think about one person that doesn't have one leg. But then you think, oh, but one person has the right leg, the other one has the left leg. We have to think about something that can work for both,
Yeah.
you know, stuff like that. And then, oh, but some are super small and some are super big. And yes, it's complicated for them to think about normal climbing. Then you have to think about paraclimbing that has a lot of categories and
Yeah, I can imagine it must be very, very tough. In this case, what would be your ideal solution in terms of establishing the correct categories?
Now, what I will say will... the person who will hear that will be like, oh, she doesn't know what she wants or what she thinks, but we can do exactly the same as we are doing, because if we don't have the 6 persons, we have to merge. But at least at the end, we can split the categories, you know?
So merge without merging.
Yes. Merge,
What
what does it mean?
does it mean in practice?
In practice, it's exactly the same. We will have to climb exactly the same routes as them. But at the end, we will, when you count the points, you will do like, okay, this one is RP3, this one is IL2, this one is first, this one is first, and then consecutively for the rest.
Same route, 2 rankings.
Yes.
Then.
Yeah.
In this case, which will determine the route to climb? So the category that has the most people, for example?
That's what is happening now.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the route setters, they know beforehand, okay, we're gonna have 5 people here, we're gonna have 8 here, we're gonna only make a route for the 8 people, and then we're gonna make them all climb this.
No, that's not like that. Sorry, I mislead you. When we have to merge, it's because one of the categories have less persons that it should have. We will always merge to one. How can I say? We have a drawing for that. Like IL2, if you have to merge, you merge with RP3. RP2.
So
if
it's
you
random?
have to.
You said the drawing is like you take a paper and you see which
No,
one
no,
gets
no, no,
merged?
no. We have.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
No, yeah, it's okay. We have. It's not a graphic. It's whatever. We have already a plan established for that.
Right, a pairing.
Yes, a pairing for that. Like AL2s, if you don't have as much persons as you should, you will go to the RP3.
And that's defined before the competition starts, before the registration. So it's part of the regulament.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And what happens if both don't have enough?
We will merge.
Still merge.
Still.
And
Mm-hmm.
I was just trying to figure out a criteria. Okay, if you say let's both climb the same route, for the route setters, how do they know which one they prepare to? Since they do not prepare it for both, or they know it already before they start the route setting.
That's a good question. I think they know it already before a route setting. Sorry, because we have the classification at the beginning of the competition. So we go like 2 days before. We have the classifications, and then you are in this category. You are on this one, and then on this one we don't have person enough. You will go to this one, and then the route setters already know, like, we will have this one, this one, this one, and this one, and they can prepare. Now, I don't know if they already have it in their mind.
Yeah.
Like, we have this for IL2, we have this for RP3, and this for something else, and then, okay, we don't have to do this one. Or if they already planned, this one is already for them.
I see.
I don't know how
That's
they
right.
work.
It's just ironic in a way, since you left CrossFit because you were looking for a fair competition,
Mm-hmm.
and then you come to climbing and you have to deal with these forms of unfairness.
Yes, I know, but it's still different. I can still compete.
Right.
You understand? Like, it's something that it's still growing, not just in Portugal, but worldwide. It's still growing everywhere, the paraclimbing part. Not the climbing one, but the paraclimbing.
The climbing also is growing a lot.
Yes, but what I want to say is, like, in Portugal, you can feel that climbing, it's growing. As the paraclimbing, we are growing together. But outside, you have the climbing part. It's already super big.
Outside, you mean outdoor or abroad?
Abroad, it's already big. And the paraclimbing part, it's not that big. I don't know if...
Yeah, well, I don't think it can get as big by default, since it's much harder to find athletes for paraclimbing, since there is the requirement of a traumatic event in your life that gives you some kind of disability.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always going to be a bit of a niche sport, I think. I might be wrong. It just seems to me that the amount of potential athletes is by definition very small.
Yes. I still think we can grow.
You're gonna start chopping some legs on the street.
No, I mean, we don't see them a lot, but there are a lot of disabled persons everywhere. We just have to push them.
You know a lot of disabled people, yeah. Would you say that many take a more defeated approach to their injuries? since I think it's kind of rare to see people like you that lost a limb and then say, okay, I'm gonna do sports like a crazy person and I'm gonna be strong.
Yes, there are a lot of persons that use the disability to say like, oh, look at me, poor guy, I can't work, I can't do this, you have to help me. You have a lot of persons like that, but then you also have a lot of persons that think like me, and you have persons that are like, oh, I don't really care, I'm okay with my condition, but I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do sports. That's what I want to say. And persons like that, I think we can still push them and be like, oh, don't you want to try? And things like that. And I think that if it was more visible, if I don't know.
Do you think it would improve their lives if people that are probably depressed by saying, oh, take pity on me, I cannot work, if they could find a reason to feel valid?
I think yes. If they tried, I don't like really much to talk about this because I feel a bit unfair for them. It's unfair for them if I talk about this like that, but if they will try to do something instead of being like, oh, poor me, I don't know what to do now, and things like that, help me, I can't do this or that. If they will try to speak with someone, try to do something to reverse the situation, like, okay, I am like that, but I can do something, I can improve, it will be better for them. And if going to do sports is something that helps for that, why not?
It's probably more about giving some change in your life.
Yes.
Maybe something to feel excited for. How do you feel that is the atmosphere between you and the other competitors, all the other girls? Since you're all people that suffered something, and that if you are there competing, then you pulled yourself together and you became good at something. So I can imagine that they're all strong people, mentally strong.
Yes, they are. I look at all of them and they are all super strong mentally and physically. Yes, but the atmosphere is really nice, It's not like a sport that you go there and it's like, oh, I will compete with this one, I can't talk with her and stuff like that. No, we are all like family, You are someone new that comes, they will come to you and introduce themselves, and oh, we are competing together, if you need something just tell me. And then you are in the wall climbing and you hear your name, like, go Tânia, go, come on. And you can understand that the person that is screaming your name is someone that is competing against you, someone in your category. And it's really
wonderful.
Nice.
In most sports you see spite between competitors, they try to undermine each other.
Yeah,
but here
in climbing it's really nice. It's like a family, and yes, I'm competing with you, but you are like climbing alone. We are not fighting together,
Right. Yeah, in the moment you only depend on yourself.
Yes, that's it. And then we push each other to do better, and yeah.
It's really nice. It must be so tough not to have a referee to complain on, to blame everything in football.
Exactly. You are like, no, I should have brushed that.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't touch chalk enough.
I think that climbing in that sense is very humbling, since you really cannot blame anything besides yourself.
Besides yourself, yeah. So why would you create a strange atmosphere or something if you only depend on yourself? The other one did better.
Yeah. Would you share also tips as part of this friendship, or that's too much?
What do you mean?
Tips instead, let's say you have the route, it's hard, and you kind of, before you compete, you look at the route and you see what's going on. And let's say you go first, and then you come to the backstage where the other girl is preparing, and you say, and you tell her, in this part, I did this to get over, try this trick, it will probably help you.
We do that sometimes, yes. At least in the IL2, we had some competitions where we all look at the wall and are like, oh, I went there, it's not that good, but this one is good, and oh, maybe if you do it like this or like that, or before any one of us climb, we are all like, oh, this looks really bad for us, but maybe if we do it like this or like that, we always give some tips and things like that.
That's beautiful and
yeah,
genuine.
Yeah, it's nice because you can give the tip, but then the person has to know how to do it, even if you gave the tip. Like if it's a movement that you are not that strong, you can know like, oh, here I must put my foot here or like that. But then, okay, but how do I do it? Or am I strong enough for that? You know?
I will not be surprised if people were hyper competitive. I don't know if you can even say hyper competitive. I think if you just say competitive, they will normally not help the opponent. But perhaps the question is that you don't see them as an opponent, more like a comrade or a friend. Like you are at the same climbing gym, and in the gym we give tips to each other. And it seems to be more or less the same spirit, according to what you're describing.
It's the same spirit, but in the back of your mind, you think, you are always thinking like, oh, I must do better. Like, okay.
Than them, yeah.
Yeah, of course. You are still competing, you know. You give the tips, you are friends and things like that, but you think, I must do better. I want to win, or at least be in second place. I want to be better than them, or do better than them.
That depends on your personality. I feel that climbing like for peanuts, as we say. So that's part of a drive to keep improving every day, even if it's not necessarily formally competitive, which I don't do that, of course, because I'm not good enough, not even close. So it's more about mentality, about having something to push you. And maybe something that plays into this is the fact that you don't really have an incentive for paraclimbing right now. As you said, you don't get any sponsorship. So if you do good or bad, you only have to account to yourself, not to someone else. So in this case, failure is kind of relative. See, does it alleviate pressure in some way?
No, not at all, because I am the one, like, if you say, oh, you don't have to feel so pressure about that, or oh, you just have to have this amount of pressure, I will put the double of the pressure on myself.
Right.
I am that kind of person. And then I don't have sponsors or something like that, but I think like if we have two federations in Portugal and the state is helping one of them, maybe if I have a good result, they will open their eyes and then switch to the federation who has the athletes that gives some view to Portugal, because I had a good prestation, a good result outside, you know.
I know, but I don't think
like
in this particular Portuguese case of federation, I don't think it's about opening the eyes, because everyone knows what's happening, everyone knows who is helping the sport and who is not. It's about having not the political corruption to get in the way of the people that know what's going on.
Yes.
So like they know what's the correct decision, but it's probably just holding on to power while they last. But my question was in the sense of, would you think you could maintain this good atmosphere of friendship with the other girls if there were higher financial incentives to succeed?
Yes.
Like giving a tip.
Yes.
Would you think, okay, I don't want to give her a tip. I want to be really better than her. I will try everything. This is, of course, not good sportships, but it's something that plays subconsciously in our minds.
I think it will be the same. I'm saying it right now, but I don't know how it will be truly, but I think it will be the same. Because as you said before, it's a sport that depends on you. You know? If you fail, it's your fault. If you want to do better, you have to train more. You have to do something different as they do. It's not because you said something at the moment that they will be better than you. If you want to be better than them and win, you have to do something whole here, not just in the day.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah, so if you want to be good, you have to work hard. The 364 days that you are not there. It's not the one day where you gave one tip that will help the other one.
I see. In terms of your career, what are the goals that you would like to achieve? Climbing career.
The goal that we have put, the higher one, was to go to the paraclimbing, to be able to go there and then have a good result.
Paraclimbing, you mean the Olympics?
Yes, the Paralympics, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then the small goals.
Sorry, focusing on the Paralympics, when will they happen?
Okay, so we are aiming for 2028 in Los Angeles.
So 5 years from now, 6 years from now.
6 years, yeah.
Los Angeles. Whoa.
Yes.
Nice.
We are aiming there. The categories have to apply 7 years prior to the Olympics, and paraclimbing applied last year in 2021. So if we are able to go, it will be in 2028.
Nice. Do you need to, of course you need to qualify, but how do you qualify? Like how can you achieve this goal?
I still don't know that.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something that I really still don't know. We are still thinking about the rules of merging, what we were talking before, as we have that problem that we have to merge the categories, and then if you are AL2, you will compete in RP3, how will it be, and things like that. We are still working on those rules.
It will be like, if we split, we have to print more medals. It's going to cost us a lot of gold and silver.
Yeah.
Let's not do that.
Yeah. So I really don't know how to do it.
Okay. Then what about secondary goals you were going to mention before interrupting?
Yes. So the smaller goals were like the first one, the smallest one was I have to beat the German girl.
German? Was she not French?
No, the French is the really strong one.
Yeah. Are you giving up on that?
No, of course not. The first goal was to beat the German girl.
Okay.
That we did in Moscow. Now I have to keep that way.
What's the name of the German girl?
It's Jacqueline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Getoned, Jacqueline?
Jacqueline Fritz. It was my first goal, and I have also the goal to beat Lucy, but it's something that I will have to work even harder to accomplish.
Is she training professionally?
No, she is also working. She have. I don't know what to say.
You don't have to detail the job. So she has a job during the day and she trains at night. Like you. So it's kind of fair in that perspective.
Yes. But she is really strong.
Can you put in relative terms of lack of funding in Portugal? Now it's also the lack of funding for her in France.
Can you repeat, please?
It means that it's not only in Portugal that we have the lack of funding for these athletes that are representing Portugal in world stages, in fairly important sports. Since in France, she's from France, and she's also not getting any sponsorship.
In France, it's different. The federation has different sponsorships. It's already in another level, and if you see the climbing history in France, it's already really big, super different than Portugal. We are always like 2 or 3 steps behind on those sports. Yeah, so it's really different.
When you said we have these goals, were you referring to Shore, that is your trainer?
Yes. The goal of the paraclimbing, the Paralympics, yes, I was referring to Shore.
How important is he for your career so far? Since I believe that, sorry, I should have framed the question a bit more. I believe that he challenged you when you began climbing, and he said, I'm going to take you to the world stage. Are you in? Or something like this. I don't know. He
said that like the first time he met me. Yes.
So how do you react when someone tells you this and says, I believe in you, I want to make you very strong, and we're going to walk this path together?
First of all, I have this reaction. That is the nervous laugh. I felt like, first of all, super proud and happy to know that I can do something like that, and that someone trusts me, have trust in me, and thinks that I can do something that big. And then I start feeling the pressure.
Okay.
Of like, okay, he wants to take me there. I have to train really hard to be able to. I don't want to disappoint him, you know, because he believes in me. I have to be able to, you know.
Is this accountability not a good thing in a way? In the sense that if you don't have anyone rooting for you or anyone depending on you, you usually tend to slack. At least this is what happens with me. If I'm alone and I don't have anyone controlling me in some way, like if I don't have a result to show, the me in the past would wither away, meaning that I will just let time pass and not do anything. And I feel that if I have someone to compete in a friendly way, someone to play something with, someone to evolve alongside with, then I feel a greater responsibility. Like, okay, this person is waiting for me to go train. Even if I don't want to go train, I will go because I don't want to let him down.
I feel a bit like that too. If I don't have someone counting on me or someone waiting for me in some, I won't say in climbing, but some other things, some other aspects, I will do the same thing, like wait and let it pass.
Yeah.
You know, like
procrastination is an old friend.
Exactly. Yes, I do that a lot when I have time for that, like weekends.
Yeah. So it's the sense that maybe if you didn't have Shore putting pressure on you, maybe you would not have the resolve to go this far.
Yes. I think is a big part of this, all of this that we accomplished.
In this case, is formally your trainer, but does your trainer become more than your trainer emotionally?
Yeah, of course. Yes. It's more like, more than a trainer, it's like more than a friend, it's like family, you know. It's, yeah. I don't know how to say it, but yeah, it's like family.
Yeah.
Like if it was let's say, uncle or brother, and yeah.
So you have to give him a present once a year on his birthday, like you give to uncles.
I think he's really happy when I have a good result.
Yeah. He also puts on a lot of work since he does not get paid either. So if when he goes with you to competitions, he's taking his time and his money.
Yes.
So
yes, all from his pockets.
So can you imagine that he must be really, really proud when you succeed, or even if you don't succeed. Again, this is part of the pressure. You don't have to succeed. You don't have to be number one. I think that what people only expect from you, people that love you and care about you, I think they only want you to give your best.
Yes. As I told you before, I put a lot of pressure on me, and he's the first one to say like, "Oh, you did really, really good. It's the best thing you did so far." And I'm like, "Oh no, it was not that good. It was really bad." And you were like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you," and things like that. And
yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
So what's your next competition?
So my next competition is in May in Salt Lake City, in the States.
United States?
Yes.
Wow.
On this one I'll go alone, with no one from the federation or no coach. And
so in terms of official representation, you're going completely alone?
Yes.
Wow.
Completely alone. I'm a bit nervous because it's the first time I will travel alone and to a competition also. So,
yeah. How do you even get the funds to go to United States? You have the journey, you have the hotels, you probably have the registration. Can you?
The registration is it's always the federation that pay that part. But for the rest, this year I had a GoFundMe.
Oh wow!
Yes, I raised a GoFundMe to help me to go to the competitions, and we achieved the goal that I've put there in less than 3 weeks.
Oh, you completed it?
Yes.
Nice.
In less than 3 weeks.
That's impressive.
It was like, what? When I raised it, I thought, okay, someone will help me, even if I don't reach the goal. It's okay. At least I tried, and it's a small help. But then, since while the days were passing by, I was like, oh, this is crazy. Everyone is helping. I'm almost at the goal. And then less than 3 weeks after, I reached it.
Wow, it's impressive.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it was, but I imagine it's a few thousand, since it's an intercontinental flight and the United States are not cheap. And that's really amazing.
Yes.
Does this put
more pressure? Yes.
Yeah, I would ask, like, less pressure because you don't have to worry about money in your own personal life?
Yes.
Or more pressure, as you said, because you have more people saying, go Tânia.
In the money part, it's less pressure because last year I completely, how can I say it? I spent all my money last year, all my savings, just to go to the competitions. And this year, with this help, it's less stressful, I will say. If I need money for something like right away, I can have it. But you have also the other parts of the pressure, because all those persons helped me to go there. Now I have to prove them that it was like for a good reason, let's say. I don't know. I think the persons that helped me don't think like that, but it's the pressure I put on myself.
I think they just want you to do your best. And again, they don't expect... I don't know who they are. I don't know them. I'm just talking about what I would do. I will not expect you to be number one, since that's not reasonable. But but I believe that a person, as long as he or she does their best, that's all another person can ask for.
Yes. I genuinely think that that's what they think. Like, I really want her to do her best, even if she don't win or something like that. But for me, it's double the pressure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Anyway, but you're training pretty hard now.
Yes.
You scaled your training to 5 days a week, so every day during
Yes.
the week. So I guess you're doing quite a lot. And maybe we'll see. I hope you have a good result in May. So to wrap this up, I want to go a bit more philosophical in terms of a question. I just want to ask you, given your background, given your experience in the sport, what would you say that is the meaning of life for which we all are here?
Oof.
Like, what makes us here? What makes you wake up to the next day and be with a smile?
Wow. I didn't thought you all say something like that. Come on.
You thought or you didn't?
Oh, Jesus.
Just making it simple. Like, what makes you excited about tomorrow? In addition to beating the German girl and then the French girl.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. It's a pretty hard question, I think. Like, I had a job interview like 2 months ago, and they were like, "What makes you want this job?" And I was like, "I want to compete, so as I don't have any funds, I want to have money for that, and I have to work." You know.
Money.
So, what will make you wake up every day to work? I want to compete. And then now I like.
It's probably not the answer they wanted.
I don't know, but they kept me, so.
Okay. They were like, "Oh, this girl is just using us to get money."
I don't know. They asked. I was just sincere with them.
Yeah, I think that's also the most valuable.
Yeah.
If people are honest, again, I prefer people when they are honest and tell me bad things or tell me criticism to face. Since if they tell me the criticism to face, then I can improve on it. But if they hide it, maybe then they develop some grudges or they do not explain what they want.
Yeah.
So I always prefer people to be transparent and straight.
And it was like, what makes you wake up every day to work? I want to compete, so if I fail work, I can't have money for that.
So you're kind of answering this indirectly. So your main motivation seems to be to compete.
Yes.
And to be strong enough, perhaps, to continue to be worthy of competition. Especially when you're going to the Olympics in 6 years. That's many years of training. So it's not like something that will end tomorrow.
Yes, it's a big plan for the future.
All right. I hope you do best, and starting early now in May, that you do your best, even if it's not number 1 or number 2.
Yes.
But I just really hope that you can be your best version of yourself, and good luck to you. To wrap this up, do you want, well, you don't need any more GoFundMe since you already reached your goal. Do you want to leave people with your Instagram or your account where they can follow you or maybe watch you climb in May?
Yes, I can give my accounts. I have 2 Instagram accounts, actually. I have one that is Tânia Chaves, and the other one, I don't remember the name. It's quite new. It's really an athlete page on Instagram that I think it's Tânia Chaves _Paraclimbing, where I'm starting now with some old pictures from when I started. First time I went to the rock, first competition, stuff like that. I will put it in that way
Okay.
Yeah.
And now can people
From now.
watch the competition in the United States in May? YouTube, as you said?
Yes, I think in the IFSC page.
IFSC page. So the official paraclimbing.
Yes.
Official climbing institute. Okay, it was awesome to talk to you. Thank you for sharing your history and sharing your goals and ambitions. And best of luck to you in your future.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.